this video, I will be providing an overview of a tool not within the O-Calc Pro application, but a standalone tool that is included with your O-Calc Pro installation. This tool is called the Image Split Merge tool, which allows a user to manipulate whether or not a photo taken for a particular poll is embedded within that PPLX file, or if that image needs to be separated, and it will also check for batch processing whether or not images are attached to PPLX files or whether they're just simply referenced using an external reference. So for this example, I first wanted to just open up this poll. I've called it poll 1, and this poll here does have images associated with it. So when I save this poll, I'm going to save poll as, and I'll get this window here. And you'll see for image encoding, I have two options. One where it saves a reference to the image, and one where the image data is embedded within the PPLX file. This ultimately results in a larger file, but you can send this to another user and they'll be able to see the image that you used for the calibration. So I'm going to use embed image data and just sort of overwrite this poll 1 that I already have. I'm going to select yes to replace it. Now within that folder, I also have a second poll listed. That poll has been saved the same way with the image embedded into the PPLX file. Now what I've also done is created a folder for just PPLX files and one for just images. I will need these two folders later on for using the tool. Now as far as accessing this tool, I'm going to navigate to my C drive, which I've brought up here, and I'm going to go into my program files, x86, down to my Osmos folder, under O-Calc, under bin, and these are all the items that are included with your O-Calc Pro installation. O-Calc Pro itself is this executable called PPL. This particular utility, the Image Split Merge PPLX tool, can be launched here by double-clicking on that executable. So I'll minimize this folder and bring this window into focus. So this is our tool here with 3 tabs, one for splitting and moving images that have been embedded with a PPLX file, one for merging images where only a reference exists, and then a tool just to sort of check and make sure that whatever process you wanted was run successfully. So under the Split Move Images tab, this tool allows for the unembedding or splitting of images from PPLX files. The two polls that I have, poll 1 and poll 2, currently have their images embedded. So what I'm going to do is select the folder where those files are located. So I'm going to select this ellipse button, and that allows me to sort of navigate around. So I want to select the folder where those polls are. I know that they're listed in this folder. I can't see them, but I know that they're in this one. So I'm going to select this folder. There is an option to include subfolders if you're working on a project with subdirectories with additional files that you want to run. I do not want to run this on my subfolder, so I'm going to leave this option unchecked. And then you can set the destination for where your PPLX files will be placed after they've been split from their images. So I'm going to set the location to this folder here. And then you're also going to set the location for where your images are going to go once you've split them away from their PPLX parents, essentially. So again, I'll hit the ellipse button, and I'm going to make sure that my images folder is selected, and select that as the output location. And once those parameters are set, you're just going to hit Split Move PPLX Files, and it'll be very quick since I'm only running this on 2 files. But I'll hit this button. That text that appears there will stay longer if there are more files being run, but that lets me know that the process did execute. So to make sure that this completed successfully, I'm going to navigate to those folders and just sort of check and make sure that an output was placed there. So I'm going to navigate to those folders. And here are my original polls. Here are my output files. And these are all of my images that have been sort of separated away from them. Now, I'm going to go into my PPLX files folder. So these here should not have any embedded images related to them. And one good indicator that my process was successful is the size of these files. Notice that it's pretty small, at least when compared to the original sizes. Again, embedding photos does generate files of a much larger size. So for projects where you have a lot of polls in a particular order, you may not want to send a customer all of the PPLXs with the photos embedded because that file size is going to be quite large. So you can use this tool ideally to sort of split those photos away if you don't need them and generate an output set of PPLX files that only have a reference to the photo rather than having the photo embedded within the PPLX file. Similarly, if you just need to send someone the photos with all of the labels for the different attachment heights and span diameters, you can use the images that were generated as output and sort of package them up and send them along as well. In a similar fashion, if I go back over to my tool, you can use the Merge Images option to merge your original PPLX files with their associated images. As we reviewed in O-Calc, if we go under File, Save Poll As, if you had saved a photo with just an external image reference, and I will call this one Poll 3, and then go back over to my tool, you can set the location of the original PPLX file. So I am going to navigate to where I placed poll 3. Which is in this location here. I'm going to select this folder, and then I'm going to choose an output location. Again, I'm just going to be setting a location where my output PPLX file will be, and this PPLX file should have the image embedded into it. So I will set this as my output location, and I will select my merge option, that processing here. So now if I go back over to my folder, and I'm just going to bring my folder up, I can see that it generated that PPLX file in my output location with that file size, which is telling me that it did indeed embed that image. Now the last option in this tool is the check images, which allows you to check a batch of PPLX files just to make sure that there are images associated with each one. So I'm going to set a location. I'm going to include subfolders and check my PPLX files, and this lets me know that no images are missing. So ideally this tool will allow a user to verify that all of their PPLX files either have or don't have the image embedded, and allows for faster processing for larger groups of polls if it's required to reduce file size to sort of separate all those images out and save them in a specified location. And that concludes this video.